Okay. Whoops. So, Imperial Chronicle, Issue 2. Politics. The Imperial Provincial Council meets. The Imperial Provincial Council, made up of the 4 great houses and other key nobles, met recently in Cruzan Province's Berea Heart City. Reports suggest that the heads of each of the 4 great houses were in attendance, and that countermeasures against the Reformist faction were discussed. Provincial Council Representative Statement. The ones responsible for upholding the nation's traditions and for making this great country, what it is today are we nobles. The so-called reformists may think they know how to govern Erebonia, but are they really thinking of the next 200 or 300 years? Those who lack self-respect and can only think of practical concerns rather than the heritage and culture of this nation have no business talking about how to run it. International. Riot in Crossbell. Reports suggest that a riot took place in the Crossbell State to the east. The mob struck in the middle of the night, firing machine guns on the city streets. It is believed that the riot was orchestrated by a religious cult, and the Crossbell police are continuing to investigate the matter. Fortunately, the IBC International Bank of Crossbell was unaffected and resumed normal operations the next day. Those associated with the bank can rest easy. Wait. So this should be Trials from Zero right now. A riot that took place. The mob. Wait. Oh, wait, wasn't this during the, wait. Is this near the end of... Was this near the end of Trails from Zero? No, wait, right, wait. Let me think again about the timeline. Trails from Zero... Like, okay, first there was like the wolf incident. No, we don't know much about, we don't know much about the DG cult until late game, basically. And a citywide riot. Chapter 3 was the Crossbow Festival, so that was after the festival. Chapter 4... What was Chapter 4 again? Actually, let me look this up so I can get my timeline straight. Zero no Kiseki. Okay, so Wolves, Golden Sun Silver Moon Chapter, Crossbow Festival. Hold on. No, okay, no, that was the auction thing. Okay, so... Oh, okay. Wait. The mob is struck in the middle of the night. Firing machine gun. Oh, yeah. This was during the end of Trails from Zero. Yeah. When, Oh yeah, when everyone under the effect of Gnosis, was finally being, like, puppeted around to cause, like, a ruckus all over Crossbell. The Bracer Guild got hit up by the mobs. The SSS got hit up by a brainwashed, was it Belgard Gate? I think it was, or was it Belgard or Tangram? No, Belgard. Right. And a lot of the Belgard Gate people try to take away... We're in the middle of taking away Kia, right. And we're on like this whole like cool sequence where we got one of the best songs in the game. And then we had to hold the line at IBC. Right. Okay. So this was like roughly just after This is roughly just after the events. Also, where's my mouse? Okay, here we go. Riding crossbow, reports suggest. Yeah, this is at least like a couple days, or like a day or a couple days after the whole Gnosis thing earlier. Okay, so that's the current timeline right now, then. So, okay. Getting back to the reading, though. See, economy. Chancellor Osborne visits Jurai SEZ. Recently, Chancellor Osborne paid an unexpected visit to the Western Jurai Special Economic Zone, SEZ, which has continued to show remarkable economic growth in recent years. It is believed that he met with the region's representative to discuss their respective visions for the future. Those present were said to be awestruck by the Chancellor's dynamism and political skill. Incident: Phantom Thief B returns to Erebonia. The infamous criminal Phantom Thief B, who once sowed chaos across the Erebonian Empire, has returned. If reports are to be believed, does the elusive outlaw intend to cause yet more trouble here in the Empire? Having been outmaneuvered by him on countless occasions in the past, the High-Dollar military police aren't taking any chances and are on increased alert. Publicity: a revolution in fishing gear. The Lake Lord Company has added a new product to its lineup, the Lake Lord Star. This groundbreaking rod was created using a brand new material, making it stronger than ever before. Those interested should make their contact with a local dealer for availability. Dude, I can't take the Lake Lord Company seriously after Azure. Oh my god. Like, fishing is for the nobility. After he got his ass handed to him in a fishing battle. Well, the equipment I've been waiting ages for finally arrived. We're selling it before you know it. Take a look next time you're passing by, and we should have everything on display by then. Oh my god, there's so many people here. So we hear Class 7's going on field studies. Must be nice to get to travel around the country. There's probably material galore out there. I'm actually pretty jealous. He's always talking about material, but what is it? It's not like they're separate from our curriculum. We work just as hard on field studies, not harder. Have you tried fighting against the provincial army, my dude? You're shaping up to be a fine captain, Emily. You might want to redirect that concern toward yourself, though. Our midterms are next month, after all. Oh crap, you're right, I completely forgot. The important thing now is to find the balance between our studies and club matters. It's only May. I am certain a number of issues will resolve themselves as the year progresses. Elisa keeps getting better and better, but lately it seems like she's had something on her mind. I wish I could help her out with whatever's eating her. They tell me we got midterms coming up next month. The entrance exam alone was more than enough testing it for one lifetime, but wait. The entrance exam alone was more than enough testing for one lifetime. Are they giving us more? You mean why are they giving us more? Right? Oh my god. Localization, please. I know Trails games have a lot of text to translate, but man. Excuse me. I'm pretty worried about Instructor Neidhart's military science exam. I mean, he's an active duty soldier in the 4th Armored Division, and his classes are just as hardcore as you'd expect. Maybe he should start studying for his exams now. Things have gotten a whole lot harder for us this year too. But we can't afford to give anything less than our best. Now the midterm's right around the corner. Today's combat studies lesson was a very challenging one. I thought I was used to Instructor Sarah after a year of her merciless teaching. but she never fails to invent new and creative ways to torture us. Yeah. Every time I think, Patrick couldn't be more of an asshole, he proves me wrong. Could you put the fear and ideas into his heart or something, Frito? Anything to get him straightened out. Now why'd I do that? It's so much more interesting when there's all this tension between you. You're pretty twisted, you know that? She have a care, doesn't she, or doesn't have a care in the world, does she? Guess it's my job to give Patrick the attitude adjustment he needs. Let's just leave Patrick be for now. I'll come around at some point, just like you did last year. Could we not talk about that? Oh, what's going on? Oh, the students on the students up in the third floor salon can never stop complaining about the food we serve. But this is a military academy cafeteria, not some fancy, expensive restaurant. They do well to remember that. There are a lot of upper-class students in the salon upstairs who are really full of themselves. At least they're not all like that. You can usually tell the sensible ones by whether they try to get along with commoners or not. Even if they're separate classes, the nobles and commoners are both join the same clubs, so not trying is a warning sign. Whole tomato or whole juice and tomato sandwich. Wait, do I know how to make that? Whole, oh yeah, whole juice. Although the tomato sandwich one is new. Man, I still miss Trails in the Sky where you can just learn how to cook food by just eating new food you haven't tried before. Cause like it's so much more annoying now to get food recipes. Cause like you'd have to buy them, but you won't be able to make more of them. Or maybe just have one of them, but then you want to make more. So then like you want to eat it, so then you make more later. But then since you don't know the recipe, you only have that one, and it'd be an Alexa situation. Emma got into the academy on a scholarship, didn't she? Which means she's exactly the kind of person we should be protecting from your indecent hobbies. Indecent? How dare you? There's nothing indecent about the passion that these boys share. In fact, indulging in it is a vital part of a lady's youth. Stop trying to corrupt Emma. Sorry, I couldn't hear your argument over all your heavy breathing. Fidelio? Oh, Fidelio, yeah, Fidelio? You'll never understand. There's nothing indecent about the pure passion. There's nothing indecent about my fantasies. Seems like more and more girls are getting into that sort of thing lately. Well, hobbies are hobbies after all, so there's not much point in complaining. Hey! So, how's the fishing going? Bet you're catching all sorts of stuff now that you're traveling around the country for your field studies. Maybe I should join you next time. You do know they're academic studies and not some sort of fishing tour, right? Guess we can't get anything else here. Marcus is already gone for the day. He told me he'd be here for tomorrow's strategy meeting, but he seemed a bit off. This isn't the first time either. I wonder if he's doing okay. I wonder if it's because of me. Oh. Oh dear God. Well, what club was this again? Occult research. Welcome to the Occult Research Society. You were puzzling over why such a club was founded, are you not? You hit the nail right on the head. I understand your amazement, but you need not look so surprised. I can read your mind as if it were a book. Oh, all of a sudden I sense you shrinking in fear. No use in trying to hide it. Nothing escapes the all-seeing barrel. Okay! Also, I forgot to read Red Moon Rose again.
Are you getting used to life at the academy yet?
Okay, wait, why is it... Okay, time out! Why is it voiced for this first line, but not the rest of this? Hello? Oh my god. This is why I prefer Trails in the Sky to some extent. Like, at least you know that pretty much all of it is voiceless, so you don't get like that jarring transition from like no voice to voice or voice to no voice, or just it's so inconsistent. I know that it switched to cutscene format, but like just out of nowhere? Oh my goodness. Our classes have really gotten harder since the start of the year. I feel as though I'm keeping up.
That's good to hear.
Wait. Okay, wait. Why is President Toa the only one that's voiced? Like, they take the time to voice this, but they didn't take the time to get, like, Reen's VA to read lines along with Toa as well. Like, what the fuck? Excuse me? Come on. Ow. Let's leave him my hand on my desk.
By the way, tomorrow is another free day. Are you really willing to help out again, like Instructor Sarah said?
Of course. Just let me know what you need my help with. Actually, if you can make it a list for me, that'll make it easy to get everything done.
Thanks a lot, Reen. I really do appreciate it.
Why does she have her hands like she's trying to type on a keyboard that isn't there? Tomorrow's gonna be even tougher, but you can do it, Reen. Let's get this done. Okay, let me get to... Oh yeah, wait, the salon. Damn it! It's because we didn't accept the invitation. Actually, let me go read Red Moon Rose after I finish the old schoolhouse and engineering building dialogues. No motorcycle here. Ooh. You can expect the big bump in the bike to the bike's horsepower after the tune-up. Just remember, that means it's gonna be a lot harder to handle. But oh, don't worry. I like taming the rebellious ones. Oh boy. We're still talking about motorcycles, right? We're still talking about motorcycles, right? Anyway, hurry up and get it ready. The road's calling my name. Things seem pretty busy around here. Wow, that only took half my lifespan. Guess I can finally ride like the wind again. Oh, hey Reed, you done for today? If you got any burning orphan questions, all you gotta do is ask. Yeah, this is all the same. Exchange. Yeah, the separate rates are still shit. We got some earth lances. No, nothing different just yet. Oh, and also these things are so freaking expensive. Oh yeah. Come on, let me go. I need to go exchange all that. I know, we only need like 4K. Oh, I can't do math apparently. Well, I mean, the extra 1K will come in handy at some point, maybe. Oh, she's just sleeping. First the park bench on the day of the entrance ceremony, and now here. Is there anywhere this girl can't sleep? And it puts me in a rather awkward situation. Emma's been waiting for her, so I guess I should probably wake her up. Oh, Reen. Hey, Emma's been looking for you, so I figured I'd join the hunt. Are you supposed to be studying with her? I suppose so. Okay, later. Wait a second. One more thing. I'm not sure falling asleep at odd spots around the campus like this is a good idea. If you really have to sleep during the day, you should at least use one of the infirmary beds. I do. Sometimes. Beatrix gives me sweets if she's there. Oh my god. Oh, the nurse. She does seem like a really kind person. That's beside the point. You're a girl, you know? You need to be more... Never mind that. Can you sense it? Huh? Sense what? This building. It's changed again. A lot. How do you have... Wait a second. How does Fee have these kinds of, have this kind of, like, sixth sense or whatever? Unless... Okay. I mean, I don't have anything else to base it on aside from what I know from the crossbow games. But if I just had to spitball, like, a couple theories, either we could just go with, like, she's just, like, that special. You know, just born with this stuff. Or what was it? She's either born with this, trained in this regard to, like, sense these kinds of, like, changes or whatever. Or also, was she one of the potential survivors from the DG lodges, the experimental lodges that we went over in the crossbow games, where the DG cult experimented on countless children with their Gnosis drug experiments to physically enhance their senses to the point of getting closer to achieving their goals and meeting their true god and all that stuff, wherever the fuck was going on. I wonder if her wait, what's that term for someone who just like who has a like issue with just like chronic issue just like sleeping a lot? What's that word again? It started with an N, right? My vocabulary is just like slipping from me. Let me look that up. Is she narcoleptic? That's like uncontrollable periods of deep sleep. Or at least like just going by the dictionary.com or whatever. A condition characterized by frequent uncontrollable periods of deep sleep. Although I don't suppose it's like, although would it be like deep sleep that she's going through, or is it just like frequent napping? But either way, she has this condition, or she's been exhibiting habits of taking frequent naps during the day, and in just various places for whatever reason. So it could be one of these three. So either she's just gifted, she's been trained, or if we're gonna go the darker route, this is related to the DG cult. She could be a survivor from the experiments. Until we dig deeper, because like, remember, because especially remember during the prologue dungeon, B ended up exhibiting some rather extraordinary acrobatics, running up a wall and then just dashing through to the exit. And hell, she's already went on ahead and back just to meet with us. And then did that wall running into the second floor and just dashed for the exit, basically. That isn't something that you would expect a girl that looks like this to do. I mean, of course, like, you know, in a Trails game or any JRPG shouldn't judge by appearances, but if you're just going off of, like, what you would assume and then seeing something like this, either, again, then this would either, I mean, I don't know, it kind of feeds into either three of my theories of gifted, trained, or survivor, basically. Because, you know, she could be gifted with, like, some supernatural senses and, like, just be, I mean, the writing perspective, that'd be boring, unless, like, they find a way to make it more interesting and involved with the overarching plot. Train, I mean, it would make the most logical sense, and you can, like, once you learn about, like, whatever she does, then it's like, okay, it makes sense that she's, like, this strong, actually, now that we know. But then, that would feel kind of boring. But then, my sights are still set on the whole, Lodge Survivor thing. Because we know what happened with Tio, and how she has very acute senses thanks to the effects of the experiment, where she can sense more than your average person, so much so that it distanced her from everyone else around her age group. So then here we see Fee just kind of not minding her own business, like keeping herself rather distant from everyone, acting disinterested. Or potentially whatever she went through just kind of dulled her emotional, her usual display of emotions, maybe. So maybe. Or maybe whatever she went through, and if it somehow isolated her from people around her age, like she just ended up becoming just emotionally detached from people who want to socialize with her. That could be a thing too. Maybe. What? Later. It's changed? Yes, we talked about this with the principal. Reen. It's pretty late. I'll save checking that claim until tomorrow. But wait. Does that mean Fee's been investigating the old schoolhouse on her own? Hey! Link points. Can you go in here? Nah, like you can't go in here until you're told to on free days. Alright. So let me go back to the library and see what Fee and Emma are up to. Aw, there they are. I heard you found Fee napping near the old schoolhouse. Well, I suppose her carefree attitude is one of her natural charms. But thank you for reminding her to come to the study session. No problem. Well, Fee, you kept Emma waiting, so you better make sure to pay attention, okay? Will do. Like this. That's the correct formula, yes. Well done, Fee. Woo. Man, I just hope we hear more of like Fee's. Actually, have we heard Fee's voice at all? Do we hear her during the initial prologue? But I just hope they keep her like relatively monotone in her reactions and everything. It's like, whoa. It really reminds me of Tio. I just love like how what's the word I'm looking for? Stoic they can be, or stoic, I don't know. Actually, hold on. You know, I have dictionary.com right here. Don't mind me. Let me just mute this real quick. Okay. Emma's good at teaching. It's boring, but I guess I'll keep studying. Do you have anything to say? Those two girls from class 7 always seem to be studying together. I serve friends study. I mean, there's like one line change, but that's about it. Okay. Alright, I mean, it's not like we can actually sit down, but let's just pretend we're sitting down and reading a book here. Alright. Alright. Are you guys ready for the ever so engaging Chapter 3 of Red Moon Rose? We got 30 pages to read through, so I hope you guys are ready. Red Moon Rose, Chapter 3, Foreboding. The next morning, Alphonse found himself in his commanding officer's, Garrett's office. He had come to request the permission to independently investigate the vampire murders. Garrett scratched his head before giving Alphonse a questioning look, his eyes filled with the kind of vitality one would expect from a much younger man. You want to pursue that case all on your own. Alphonse cleared his throat nervously. He was well aware that that what he was asking was completely unreasonable. Not on my own. A civilian has agreed to help me conduct my investigation. The two of us will be working together. It sounded pretty weak to him, but Rose had been adamant that they keep the truth of the matter to themselves. It wouldn't be to the benefit of society for the existence of vampires to become widely known, as she had insisted. As such, try to arrange for us to be able to investigate the murders by ourselves, without interruption. Aside from a cool farewell for now, those had been her last words before disappearing into the night. And what she said made sense. There was simply no way that Garrett would believe that vampires existed, even if it was his surrogate son trying to persuade him. After all, despite seeing a ghoul with his very own eyes, part of Alphonse still wanted to believe that it had all been a dream. To compound the problem further, for reasons that Alphonse wasn't privy to, Rose seemed opposed to anything other than investigating the matter covertly. As such, her joining the team formed to officially investigate the murders was off the table. Alphonse was therefore left with no choice but to propose that the two of them investigate together in secret. Alphonse was not surprised then to see Garrett's less than willing expression. Listen, Al. As your guardian, I've got a responsibility to look after you. That's why I want to raise you to be a fine soldier, and why I don't want you putting your life in danger for no good reason. Alphonse flushed. He'd already been removed from the team investigating the murders, as well as taken off night patrol duty. Garrett was well aware of his fixation with the case. That was exactly why he was afraid that Alphonse might end up going too far in his attempts to solve it and get injured. Or worse. Garrett, sir, I understand exactly what you're trying to say, and I appreciate your concern, but... Seeing Alphonse's determination, Garrett hesitated. The boy standing before him was calm with clear eyes, where previously there had been recklessness. Now purpose and resolve seemed to rule. After a lengthy silence, he let out a sigh of resignation. You really do take after your father. He smiled fondly, but quickly switched to his official commanding officer voice. I expect you to give your utmost to successfully solve... Bleh. I expect you to give your utmost to successfully solving the mystery behind these murders. However, I will approve of this mission only on the condition that you report daily on the results of your investigation. Alphonse almost responded in his usual casual tone, but caught himself just in time. He coughed, cleared his throat, and stood to attention. Garrett chuckled. Just be sure not to put yourself needlessly in danger, understood? If anything happens, inform me immediately. Yes, sir! Alphonse gave a deep bow, grateful for his guardian's kindness. I see that everything went well. That is good news. The two of them were in the corner of the shopping district where the first victim of the vampire murders had been found. It was the middle of the day, but the alleyway in which they stood was gloomy and draped in shadows by the looming buildings that surrounded it. The second he had stepped into the narrow passageway, Rose had appeared out of nowhere just like the previous day. Because the place where Alphonse had been attacked by the ghoul the previous night was currently under investigation by the Garrett team, they thought it best to steer clear of it for the rest of the day. As such, they had decided to examine the scene of an earlier murder instead. Excuse me. Unlike the previous night, Rose had neither her coat nor sword with her. Instead, she wore a simple dress in the local style. Anyone seeing her for the first time wouldn't be able to tell that she was anything more than a perfectly ordinary girl. According to Rose, neither vampires nor ghouls were able to operate in the daylight, and thus, battle-ready wear was unnecessary. Everyday clothing also had the benefit of allaying suspicion by blending in, she said. It was fine logic in theory. But with Alphonse still garbed in his military uniform, they made for an unusual pairing. As such, Alphonse couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief when he realized how few people were in the surrounding area. The scene of the first murder still had a solemn air about it. Alphonse set about scouring the area as he mused over the case details involving the victim. A question came to mind. Thinking about it, I never heard about any of the earlier victims turning into ghouls. Is that because you've been defeating them? Rose shook her head. No. In previous cases, I was able to purify the bodies with thaumaturgy before they turned into ghouls. Oh, with thaumaturgy. I would rather... Actually, wait, have I heard of the name Rose before? Hold on. Nah. At least I don't think so. What was I reading again? Okay. I would rather not harm the bodies of the deceased if I can help it. Thaumaturgy, as Rose explained it, was a collective name for special techniques used by a number of people belonging to the Sethian Church. The power of thaumaturgy was also apparently the reason why Rose's rapier and Alphonse's short sword were capable of defeating ghouls and vampires. Curious, Alphonse asked Rose if she was connected to the church, to which she responded, feel free to think of it that way. He itched to probe her on the subject, or more on the subject, but she began explaining the particulars about ghouls, so he let it drop. Since the murders had started, it seemed that the time it took for a corpse to turn into a ghoul was decreasing with every kill. Alphonse's encounter with the ghoul the previous night was the first occasion that she had been unable to purify the victim in time. As such, she had been left with no choice but to fight. Still, that possibility was well within my expectations. It's not the first time it has happened after all, that someone like yourself would appear and and try to get involved certainly wasn't, however, Rose said with a giggle, causing Alphonse's ears to turn pink at the tips. Anyway, he said, crouching down to inspect the ground level. Have you managed to gather anything about the culprit from your previous investigations? Rose nodded. Judging by the bite marks left on the victims, I believe that the vampire is likely male. Furthermore, despite victims being found all across the city, the bite marks look the same as one another. That suggests the work of a single vampire. Beyond that, however, Rose fell silent. Is something bothering you? Alphonse asked without thinking. Yes, actually. It may be possible that the vampire lurking in the city is... She stopped mid-sentence. Her gaze was focused on something behind Alphonse. Turning around, he saw a young man in a military uniform much like himself. It was someone he knew. Elroy? What are you doing here? Oh, I was about to ask you the same thing, the other man grumbled. Elroy was a fellow member of the Garrett team who had joined around the same time as Alphonse did. That combined with the two being roughly the same age, one might expect them to get along well. But in reality, they usually ended up arguing about everything. It had been like that for almost as long as Alphonse had known him. I'd heard you'd formed a separate team to check up on the murders, but I had no idea it was just a pretext to meeting with a woman during working hours. Elroy sneered. Alphonse stifled his annoyance. At least it seemed as if the other man hadn't overheard their earlier conversation. Clearing his throat, Alphonse said evenly, She's a civilian who's assisting with my investigation, so knock it off. And you, what are you doing here? Huh, nothing in particular, I just happened to be passing by. We've got to patrol a much wider area now thanks to all this vampire nonsense. Alphonse stood and gave him a cold look. Watch what you're saying. People in this area have lost family and friends because of these murders. Elroy sneered and cast an uncaring glance at the spot where the first victim had been found. Huh, I mean seriously? Vampire murders? We're supposed to be the Imperial Army, not a bunch of country bracers. Are we seriously considering that the possibility that fairy tale creatures like that exist? Besides, what kind of idiot goes out at night when there's a serial killer on the loose? They were asking for it if you ask me. People need to stay in their damn homes and stop making more work for us. You son of a... Enraged by the sheer callousness of Elroy's words, Alphonse started towards him, or tried to rather. Strong, unyielding fingers held him by the arm. Completely expressionless, without so much as a glance to Elroy, Rose whispered, Arguing with him serves no purpose. That time we better spend investigating. She spoke calmly, but her words were sharp and dismissive. What she said was right though, and hearing it was enough for Alphonse to cool his temper. As she said, they had more important things to be doing. He had sworn that he would solve these murders and put the past behind him, and that needed to be his foremost priority. He took a deep breath to regain his composure. The reassuring weight of the silver sword hidden in his uniform further reminded him of what he needed to do. Watching them, Elroy gave a bored, derisive laugh. And civilian helper or whatever you are, don't you go wandering around at night either. The last thing the army needs is more dead bodies to clean up. And with a mocking wave, he left them. What an ass, god damn. So, sometime later, after their inspection of the first crime scene, Alphonse and Rose spent the remainder of the day scrutinizing the second and third murders. But in their end, their search yielded no fruit. After reporting their progress to Garrett, he made his way to the Allegria, where he had promised to meet Rose to discuss how they would proceed with their investigation. The city around him was bathed in the orange glow of the setting sun when Alphonse finally stepped into the sparsely populated tavern. He found Rose sitting at a table near one of the windows. Once again, she was wearing the same navy coat as from the first meeting. It seemed safe to assume that the rapier she used that night was inside it too. Evening, she called out to him. I was expecting you to be here sooner. Alphonse didn't reply, he was too busy staring at the girl sitting opposite her. What's wrong, Luca? Oh wait, what's wrong, Luca? Luca turned at the sound of her name, eyes so wide and moist that tears threatened to fall at any moment. Alfie, Just what is this woman to you? What? Perplexed, he looked over in Rose's direction as if seeking an explanation. Rose favored him with a bland expression. All I did was walk into this tavern and state, I'll like an out-of-the-way table to discuss the future. Oh my god. I would like an out-of-the-way table to discuss the future with Al, and she has been pressing me with endless questions ever since. She sighed and shrugged her shoulders as if she understood the situation no better than Alphonse did. Seeing this, he let out an even greater sigh. Before Luca could launch into another interrogation, Alphonse set about explaining Rose's role as a civilian helper aiding an army investigation. After several reassurances, he was eventually able to clear up the misunderstanding. Luca's relief seemed to fill her with renewed energy. Cheerfully, she bounded up from their table and made her way back into the back of the tavern again. With her departure, so too left the gazes of the other curious and amused patrons. Rose and Alphonse bent to discussing their investigation. Vampires, Rose elaborated, were only able to use their powers at night. During the day, they were no different from ordinary humans. Unfortunately, this meant that even if they were to encounter one, neither of them would be able to tell. If they hoped to end the murders, they would first need to find some kind of clue as to the vampire's true identity. At one point during the conversation, Alphonse went pale at the thought they might have to exhume the corpses of previous victims in order to reinvestigate them, but Rose assured him that would not be necessary. To his great relief, she had already checked them thoroughly for clues. Even that task had yielded little more information than the similarities between the bite marks. Though, their vampire foe was a cunning one. The number of bodies and lack of clues all pointed towards a careful killer who more than likely was living right there among them as an ordinary human. After working their way through the simple meal that Luca brought them, Rose casually glanced over to the back of the tavern. You seemed rather close to that girl, she muttered, or murmured. It took a few moments for Alphonse to realize who Rose was referring to. Yeah, I suppose you can say that. I've known her for 10 years now, after all. He first met Luca when he was brought to Heimdall by Garrett. Initially, he had stayed in a house near the tavern, and being brought by it often, the two of them quickly became friends. As an orphan, Luca's support over the years meant more to him than words could ever express. Telling Rose all this, Alphonse could feel his cheeks heating. He began fidgeting awkwardly. I'm a little envious, Rose said. As she spoke, Alphonse noticed a change in her expression and tone. Usually she said things sharply or with an air of cool detachment. Her face also rarely betrayed her inner thoughts. Now though, he thought he caught a hint of loneliness. Unable to let this pass unnoticed, Alphonse opened his mouth to comment. Suddenly, Rose jumped out of her seat. Her chair fell to the ground with a crash. Once again, the two of them became the subject of a room full of gazes, but she paid that fact no mind and stared out the window with her eyes wide open. What is it? What's wrong? Actually, no, I should read that part of the line. What is it? What's wrong? Alphonse whispered loudly. It's nearby. I can sense it. It? What do you mean? The vampire, she hissed. No sooner had she said it, she raced over to the tavern's owner, who was busy at the back of the building. Alphonse chased after her. He had never seen her in such a panicked state before. Where was the young lady who was here earlier? Rose asked the puzzled tavern owner, who didn't appear to have any idea who she was referring to. It was then that Alphonse realized she didn't see Luca anywhere, and hadn't seen her since she brought them their food half an hour before. After telling this to the owner, he finally seemed to realize what he was being asked. Oh, now that you mention it, I would have expected her to be back by now. I asked her to run an errand over at the grocery store opposite here. Oh no, are you fucking serious? It's in the middle of the night and you tell her to go out for a quick grocery errand. You're giving the vampire the window of opportunity. Alphonse and Rose exchanged a glance and instantly understood what the other was thinking. Overcome with a sense of great foreboding, the two of them rush out of the shop without saying a word. That's it? Wait, what happens next?